Do not fall for advertising. Do not hire an agency when you're getting started with marketing.
Yeah.
That 0 to 1 journey should be founder led. Most of these people who take up an expensive course, they look for this magic. There is no shortcut.
Why do you think people overpromise?
Is marketing a gut feeling, right? Brand is a gut feeling, not marketing. Many people think that brand is, color and logo and stuff like that. It's not really.
And is personal branding really important, or it's overhyped now?
There are people who will buy your product just because you're the founder of the product. You really want to be known for something that doesn't exist in the market.
Hi, this podcast is with Deepan Sindhu, the award-winning growth marketer. His case studies are published in Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, and you name it. I hope it's a lot of worth. Marketing is an approach that you need to build in the moment you're born, or maybe even before you're born. When your idea is born, you need to whether you execute it or not, but you need to think in terms of how you're going to market things, right? Now, everybody, let's say a founder, is not a marketer. Most aren't, right? Which means that you're trying to wear a different hat altogether, right? So is it something that is initially, is it something that you could go with your gut feel, the way when you're building any brand you go with a lot of things with your gut feel? Is marketing also a gut phenomena initially, or it's a big mess? Shouldn't even bother with that because it's got much more depth than what you can bring in with your intuition. What do you think?
I think it depends on the background and experiences that you've come from, right? I tell this to people that marketing is not really something that you pick it up from school. I always tell people that marketing is a life skill, and everyone should be a marketer. It doesn't matter your background, doesn't matter if you're a founder or you're a software engineer or you're running a business. You need to be thinking in marketing terms. And a lot of us, we do market ourselves in different ways,
Yeah.
right from how we market ourselves to the children at home, to our parents, to our colleagues, to our friends, right? We all have these different face that that we put in front of people, right?
Yeah.
Marketing is largely the same. For example, a job seeker in an interview, they have to market themselves well to get that job,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
A founder, to get their first round of funding or seed funding, they have to market their idea to get that, right? It's just that, people have done it in the way that it has been working for them, right? Different founders, different businessmen, people from different walks of life, right? They all had their own ways of marketing themselves. It's just that there was no structure to it, right? And it's very different from, let's say, marketing yourself as a person than marketing a business.
Right.
Moment when it comes to marketing a business, you can of course go with gut, provided you have had a lot of marketing exposure in the past. Which means, let's say, you've done some passion projects, you have grown a blog, you're active on Instagram, you're consuming a lot of content around marketing. That gut feel is built over a period of time based on the content consumption and the exposure that you've had, right?
Yeah.
If you've had that much of exposure, then of course you can rely on your gut and do a lot of things yourself as a founder, right? Otherwise, what I do recommend to people is it's better for you to take some help initially, right? And that initial help could be an in-house hire. What I recommend usually the founders is to go hire a generalist marketer. A generalist marketer is somebody who comes with 4 or 5 years of experience, relatively young, but they've got their hands dirty with multiple disciplines of marketing. For example, they can write content, they can put something together in terms of graphic, they can manage your social media, they can run ads, do all of that. But they have done this for different brands, right? So typically, a founder who has had a little bit of exposure to marketing here and there, working with a generalist and telling them their thoughts in terms of how do they want to market their business, right? And the generalist can go and execute for you. Similarly, the generalist will have a lot of ideas for you.
Right.
So you get started with a generalist. In some cases, the generalist could be an agency, right? A marketing agency.
Mm.
But my approach towards this is, slightly, it's going to be different from what you would get from anyone else. I would say, do not hire an agency when you're getting started with marketing. There is this 0 to 1 journey.
Mm. Yeah.
That 0 to 1 journey should be founder led. The founder should figure it out themselves
Mm.
with maybe a generalist marketer in house, but you
Yeah.
should not outsource your marketing at this stage.
Why?
Only when it's just that, you will have very different experiences, when you hire a marketing agency,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, I come from that world and I
Yeah.
know how things work. I've been an agency marketer for almost 6, 7 years. And many of the agency marketers are not really incentivized for the client's success.
Mm.
For example, let's say if you're running a brand and if that brand is hitting a revenue goal, month 1, month 2,
Mm.
and this agency marketer or the marketing team should be incentivized based on the goals that you are hitting in terms of revenue milestones. Rather, they're incentivized to keep you happy. That's how the agency systems are defined. Okay. So
Mm.
they will largely play to your ego. They will keep showing you something new. They will make it look like they are doing a lot of work. They will make
Mm.
it look like they're giving you a lot of attention. Whereas on the other side, it's the same team that is working on 10 to 15 different brands and they're not really thinking about you. Whereas you might be thinking, this particular team is always thinking about me.
Yeah.
Uh, this is, I wouldn't say not 100% of the agencies do that, but 99% of them do.
Most. Yeah.
Right? And there is that 1%, and it is very difficult to go in
To
to be
find that
find
1%.
them,
Yeah.
right? Which is why I
Absolutely.
say that, there are agencies, who bring a lot of experience to the table, when
Mm.
you know what you can get done from them. For example, you figured it out, for a certain time, which channels work, what type of messaging work, who is your audiences, etc. Then
Mm.
to scale from
Mm.
that 1 to 10 or 15, that is when you hire an agency.
Then
So you
you can
have to,
ask specifically of this is how.
absolutely,
Yeah.
because you have had exposure, you know
Mm.
what works for your brand,
Mm.
and you have a generalist marketer, who doesn't have enough time anymore to scale the brand. And
Right.
this is the stage, where you can go 2 ways. Either you
Mm.
can expand your marketing team
Mm.
depending upon the skill sets,
Yeah.
or you can bring in an agency, help them scale, sorry, get them to help you scale,
Yeah.
right? And then in the meanwhile, while the agency is doing stuff, keep on expanding your team. I recommend always people to build your own in-house team
Mm.
and use agency for very specific work
Mm.
eventually, right?
Mm.
You can't depend on them to do the business for you,
Yeah.
right? You become such a big brand and you will or you will think about, rebranding, right?
Mm.
And that's a
Mm.
great time to bring in an agency because, your in-house team may not be able to pull off that
A
rebrand,
switch.
a
Yeah.
switch, a
Mm.
completely different perspective on
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
That's what the agencies are really good at bringing in. Let's say you've been running performance marketing or SEO with your in-house team,
Mm.
and there is a point that you feel that, hey, this team is not really moving the needle. There will
Mm.
be a point where
Mm.
they're not able to think outside the box.
Beyond
They're
this. Yeah.
beyond this, they've gotten extremely comfortable.
Yeah.
And there has to be a point where you have to bring in expert from
Mm.
outside, get them to critically look at how you're doing things and find loopholes and find opportunities, and then they can enable your team to do better.
How do you decide, considering that it's a crowded space, both ways?
Mm-hmm.
And at any point of time when one is looking at identifying an agency,
Mm-hmm.
what do we do typically? Like we say, okay, what are the other brands that you work with? From what to what you have helped them scale. Can I see something that you've done with them? Is that pretty much what the teams and the founders can best do at, or there is a better checklist to identifying the right fit?
Pretty much it. The only thing is, the first step number one for me to hire this agency from my network, from people who have worked from my network, who have worked
Mm.
with these agencies and they have gotten success
Mm.
and they can personally vouch for these agencies. Now it works
Mm.
both ways, right?
Mm.
You're asking your friend or, if let's say if you're asking me,
Mm.
I know you and I know the challenges that you've had.
Mm.
I'm not going to recommend some random agency or a
Right.
freelancer to you, right?
Yeah.
Only with the person that I trust, I will probably say, hey, Sonia, here is a person that you might want to work with.
Mm.
Even with the person that I'm getting referred, they know that Deepan is referring this person.
Mm.
I know I have to do a good job for Sonia's business, right? If I don't, then Deepan is not going to refer any other business to me. So
Yeah.
what I would recommend is, instead of, you know, finding the most popular agencies out there, who have done their PR really well,
Yeah.
it's best to source it from a network.
Mm.
Network doesn't mean, you can even reach out to brands that you really like and you can ask them for reference. Hey, can you refer your agency to me? And they would be happy, they would happily do that.
Mm.
Right. So step number one is that.
Mm.
Second is, of course, looking at their portfolio. And the third is, evaluating how they are thinking about your business problem.
Mm.
Typically, what happens, Sonia, the founding team or the core team of the agency will come and do a fantastic pitch, right?
Tell me about it. Yeah.
That's what agencies are good at, and I've
Yeah.
done that so many times in my life, right? In fact, there has been number of times, wherein you take Deepan to a meeting, and then
And
the
then
client
there's
will
no
say,
Deepan.
yes, yes, we want to work with your company, and then
And then there's no
there is
Deepan.
there is no Deepan after that, right? And Deepan is only coming for once a month kind of meeting. Like, Deepan also has limited time, right?
Yeah.
So this
Yeah.
is what happens with every core member team, and hence it's very important to get that commitment. The commitment in the sense, hey, whoever is pitching here, they are going to be my operating team. They are going to be running
But
the
how
show.
does one get that? Because on the face of it, they'll say, yeah, yeah, Deepan is going to be forever there. Go
Then you
all
can
away.
get rid of them. See, this is pure unethical stuff. You can't say something to impress the client and then not do it. You can get rid of them in the first 10 days itself, right?
Mm.
But most of the agencies, who are decently reputed enough, especially if they're coming through referrals, they wouldn't do it. They
Mm.
would, of course, get you the core team involved,
Mm.
at least for the first 3, 4 months. Once you're extremely comfortable, okay, this agency is doing the job right, then they can onboard some other team members to do that for you, right?
Mm.
So this is one way of doing it, wherein you make lay your expectations very clearly that, hey, I need this team to be doing the work for me, right?
Mm.
Second thing is, of course, how they're thinking about problems, right?
Mhm.
Obviously you're hiring an agency because you have a few problems that you're not able to solve yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And instead of getting diverted by the really beautiful things that they showcase during a pitch,
Mm.
it's important, to really look at, can this agency or consultant solve the business problem for me? How are they thinking about the problem? Even if their ideas are so creative, so beautiful, good looking, everything, is this trying to come back and solve my problem? This is another one.
Mm.
Third is, of course, relevant experience. If they have worked with the brands that are similar to you, what happens with young brands is, they would look at portfolio and they will see all the fancy logos.
Yeah.
Every agency will have the
Some
biggest,
fancy logos.
some
Yeah.
fancy logos.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the moment you go deep into these logos,
Mm.
you'll be surprised. They would have done some very minimal work for these brands. They, for example, you would see, what is the most common logo that you would find, when I was in the agency world, you would find Paytm everywhere.
Ah, true.
Right? You would
True.
find, yeah, you would find
Yeah.
Ola everywhere,
Yeah.
right? Not now,
Yeah.
these are really good brands, a while ago,
Yeah.
right? Um, so you might think, okay, this is the
They've
company
done it for that.
behind
Yeah.
Ola, right? The moment you dive deep into the details, hey,
Mm.
tell me the exact work that you did for them. You don't have to reveal numbers or anything specific, but show me exactly what you did for them. You can show me some banners, you can show me some landing pages,
Mm.
because that the clients wouldn't have problem. Only when you end up revealing financial information,
Yeah.
confidential information, the clients will have a problem. Why don't you
Mm.
show some work that is public?
Yeah.
Some screenshots of the work, ads that you've done. The moment you start going deep into it, you will know that, they would have done some very basic work for
Mm.
article writing, image
Yeah.
resizing,
Yeah.
etc. Uh, very, very data
I
entry.
used to get initially when I was even more naive. I used to get this the moment I would get to this question, the answer would be, "We have an NDA, ma'am. We can't share." And I used to believe it.
Okay. In that case, yeah, that's a classic playbook.
Yeah,
So
it's like a people of integrity, right? So it's
yeah.
like somebody says that we've done this, and we've signed an NDA with them. So I'm very sorry, can't. And I'm like, yeah, fair enough. Good. When they sign up an NDA with me, they will also not like go and tell my details to my competitor.
That's fair, but that's also a classic playbook of, how agencies switch away the
Yeah,
conversation, right?
yeah.
Because in that case, you will have to really ask, okay, which of your clients have you not really signed NDA with? Then you can share more details about it, right?
They will say none.
And none, then this is not the right agency. Sonia, they, any agency
Yeah.
worth their salt, they would have at least 3 or 4 good client references, because that is going to be my step number 3 or 4.
Hmm.
You have to take references of customers that they have worked with, and you have to speak to them yourself. Just like, how you would do a background verification for somebody who would potentially hire,
Yeah.
you have
A
to do the
senior
same thing
position.
for,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
you will have to do the same thing for your agency. You'll have to
Hmm.
ask for at least 3 customer references, not one, not two, 3 customer references. And if they're not sharing, then you don't have to work with them,
Yeah.
because this is what will filter out all these just talking agencies.
Hmm.
Okay.
Fair.
If
Yeah.
the agency is really serious and they've done really good work for them, they wouldn't mind, sharing 3 good customer references,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. I mean, you would have that repo with the other
Exactly.
client to also say that, please, I'm
And if the
giving you a
customer is
reference.
happy on the other
Yeah.
side, they would be happy to give this reference check for them, right?
Yeah.
So that is going to be the next step. If the agency should give you customer references, and you should have that 3 customer conversations, wherein you ask them where did they start and where did they end, what could potentially go wrong in this relationship. Uh,
Hmm.
is this the same team that is coming and pitching and doing the services as well, or is it 2 different teams, right?
Yeah.
What about the founder's reputation? How do they take feedback?
Hmm.
Uh, what happens if a person leaves the company? How do they take care of arrangements like that, right?
Hmm.
So what kind of legal clauses should I be consider in my contract? What kind of goals should I have them accountable for? So these are the type of questions that
Wow.
you need to ask the customer, not just asking, "Hey, how was that
How was
agent?"
your experience? Yeah, that's just so basic. The person
Yes,
is either going to say, yeah, good, or no,
yes,
I don't recommend. And you don't know anything further from that, any which ways.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
But I was also asking about this is possible, what you're suggesting, once the person is working, and has a live project to look at customers and to understand where they're coming from. But let's go even way before that. When a person is thinking of deciding on marketing as a career, then are there attributes that they could see that, okay, I'm cut for marketing or I'm not?
Okay, interesting. Might not be very subject matter oriented, but if you're able to have good conversations with people on the other side,
Mm,
if you have a good friends circle, like 20, 25 of them, and if you're able to walk into a bar and strike a conversation with any random person, stranger, right? These could be some initial signals where you
yeah.
could do both marketing and sales well, right? Or let's say if you're a relatively popular person in your circle,
Mm,
be it on social media, or let's say be it a specific skill, but you're relatively popular in your circle. There
mm,
are people, who approach you for a specific thing, right? These are initial signals that, where, you can do marketing better, because you've created an aura using which people are approaching you. That's exactly what marketing is, in my opinion.
mm. I
Right. If
agree.
you are able to do that for a business, creating that aura around your business where people automatically come talk to you, wanting to buy your product, wanting to take your advice,
Mm.
you've done marketing well.
Yeah,
Right.
you positioned yourself in that way that people can come.
Yes, yes.
That's a great point. I agree.
Marketing and sales are, interchangeably used in many words, but this is
Mm,
a skill that is essential for both of them, right? Uh, Gone are the days of sales, wherein you go knock doors of people and ask for business.
mm,
The sales, the way it is today, that customers are approaching you and you're having a great conversation with them, you're able to solve their problem over a conversation, and you close the deal, right?
mm,
So it is the same way with marketing. You're able to create a great impression about your brand, and people are really impressed with what you have to say. They come and approach you, and then the sales takes over from there, right?
yeah.
So this is the classic marketing sales conversation. If this is happening in your personal life at any form,
Mm.
you're cut out for marketing.
Again, like for a marketer, I know a lot of people who don't even get into this exercise of marketing. And I was also like that at some point, purely because it looks like a never ending road with a bottomless pocket, wherein like you just keep on putting in money and you don't ask questions. So the question is a good budget a solution to your marketing needs?
It can be and it cannot be, and I'll explain both as well. For example, a good budget can be a solution when you're the right product at the right time and you have a big scale that you can capitalize on.
Mm.
Going back to the same example that I mentioned about whey protein, right? The whey protein powder.
Mm.
The market is growing really fast. There are more and more people, who are becoming protein conscious, having protein in their daily intake and etc.
Yeah.
This is a great time for a brand to be jumping in and capitalize on that growing awareness.
Yeah.
If you don't have budget at this stage,
Yeah.
you will not be capitalizing on that awareness. This is number one, simple.
Mm. Mm.
Provided you don't have an amazing product,
Mm.
for that example, I'll give you a product like Zerodha. People
Mm.
always quote me the example of Zerodha, right? Zerodha didn't spend money on advertising.
Mm.
How did they become the number one?
Mm.
But there is no product like Zerodha when Zerodha started it.
Yeah.
It's simple. It's a massive, massive market
Mm.
where the Sher Khan and Angel Broking, everyone was there.
Yeah.
And they were always charging a fat commission on every transaction. And here comes a company who says that you can do it at the margin of that.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a easy looking app where anybody can go, trade. Right.
Yeah.
If you have something like that, then you will have something called word of mouth pick up crazily, and you will have people using that product. But if you're not that, if you're not Zerodha, then you can't expect to be Zerodha.
Mm.
And that too by not having budgets. Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily need to have a Zerodha like very unique product that is useful for so many people. You can still very much market an exactly similar product that already exists, but you cannot expect to word of mouth to pick up for this product.
Mm.
You need to rely on good budgets. You need to show up in front of more people better than the other similar product. If you show up more number of times than them, be it in terms of retail shelf placements,
Mm.
be it Amazon availability, be it Google, be it Facebook, everywhere people are seeing you and not your competition who is exactly similar but price better, people will
Yeah.
choose you,
Mm.
right? So
Mm.
good budget can be a solution, but at
Mm.
different stages of the business, depending upon the category that you are in and the type of awareness that you already have,
Mm.
right? Number two is good budget is not always the solution, especially if you haven't figured things out.
Mm.
For example, 0 to 1,
Mm.
I always recommend people to do things organically.
Mm.
Organically, do it yourself, sell it through WhatsApp, sell it through Instagram DMs.
Mm.
If you have to go door to door, set up a kiosk, put a stall in an apartment, figure the distribution strategy for it, for identify your audiences, who is sticky, who is coming back and buying product from you before you actually start putting money on digital marketing,
Yeah.
right? So the digital marketing, yes, it is true that you can get started with 100 rupees, but 100 rupees doesn't give you anything. Right?
Like
I do not
it
know
doesn't
why.
give you anything in the world any which ways.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
1,000 rupees also doesn't give you anything.
Mm.
10,000, maybe some
Mm.
traffic, some visibility, right? So what people have, there is a misconception that is happening saying that, hey, yes, you can get started with 100, but you
Mm.
can't get results in 100.
Mm.
It is not different from any other marketing channels that have always existed. For
Yeah.
example, a radio or TV or anything.
Mm.
Let's say you wanted to promote India-Pakistan matches happening, and if you show up only once
Mm.
during that entire 40-over match, you're
Who
showing
will
only
notice you?
once.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you need to show up more number of times. You need to show up consistently. You need to show up throughout the match. And how much will that cost you? It'll cost you several crores,
Mm.
right? And
Yeah.
what will happen if at the end of it, everybody who has been watching that particular match would have noticed you because you have shown up number of times.
Mm.
You have registered in your mind. And if they have a need next time, let's say if you're a car battery brand and you have showed up consistently, and when they think of a car battery, they will think of you immediately.
Yeah.
Right? So
And
it's
for
the
that,
same
you need to spend that money.
that you need to spend money.
Mm.
But you don't have to spend as much on digital because what happens is people expect Facebook and Google to deliver immediate results, right?
Yeah.
This is where people fail. Sometimes you will get immediate results and sometimes you will succeed as well. For 3-4 years, it will make it work. It'll be too late by the time you realize that, hey, it's
This is
not
not
really the right
where.
thing,
Yeah.
because it's like a drug. I
Mm.
keep telling it's like a drug,
Yeah.
especially Google search ads is like a drug. If you continue to put money on it, eventually, if you do not put as much money, you will not get similar results.
Exactly.
So you
Yeah.
have to, there's only way, the only way is up.
Keep feeding.
Yes,
Yeah.
keep feeding more,
Yeah.
expand horizontally, expand into different geographies. It'll only go up, it'll
Yeah.
never go down. But it's not bad. It's not bad, but only thing that you need to figure out as a brand is, how do I reduce my dependency on one of these channels? How do I just like, you think about product distribution, right? You want your product to be available everywhere.
Yeah.
Similarly, you need to be an omni-channel brand as well. You need to be everywhere. Wherever your potential customer could be hanging out, you need to be there. If they're on Slack, you need to be on Slack communities. If they're on email, you need to be doing email marketing. If they're on WhatsApp, you should be doing WhatsApp. So do everything. And it's impossible for a new brand to do all of that immediately, but you can always have a 3 month, 3 year, 4 year roadmap. You can start everything one by one, one by one. And as you are increasing the list of channels, you hire the right people that will scale with the choice of the channels as well. Yeah.
Good. So now that you are also building SaaS Lab and you're out of the agency culture, and you're building a community, help us understand how does a new brand in a competitive market build a community?
Cool. In fact, as we speak, I do work in a category that is highly competitive.
Yeah.
Just like how credit cards and banks are competitive. Like if you have to think about a credit card, there are 100 options in front of you.
Yeah.
The softwares that we sell also has 100 competitors.
Yeah, that's why I asked. Yeah, it's very competitive.
Super competitive, very expensive. We compete with companies that are 50, 60 times than our size. Imagine the amount of resources. We compete with public companies to get that same customer.
Yeah.
And this is not even a big customer. This is a really small customer. We compete with the company that is behemoth to get that customer, right? Now, how do you build a community in this case? It's to really deeply understand your top advocates. So there are obviously, we call it cohorts, different customer cohorts. There are customers, who've been sticking with you for a really, really long time. This is one cohort. Okay. Which is otherwise called LTV. The customers have had the highest LTV, lifetime value. Customers of simple terms, customers who have stayed with you for a really long period of time. Right. The number two is, customers who are vocally advocating for your brand. Right. Number three is customers, who are on the most premium plan using all the features that you have to offer. It doesn't matter whether they're old or new, but they are offering everything that you have to offer in terms of features and solutions and pain points, right? If you're able to identify these three different cohorts of customers, right, and you're able to work with them to understand why, and you have that 5 layers of why, that why is sticking with me? Is it because I have good software? Okay, why do you think I'm a good software? Because you have a great customer support and a good looking UI. Why do you think this UI is looking better than my competitor's UI, right? 5 layers of why will take you really deep with all of these customer cohorts, right? Now, as a next step, it's quite simple to first you understand why are they sticking with you, even though there are 100 other options, right? If you're able to understand that, the next step is to study the patterns between all of them, right? That we look at it in terms of both firmographic and technographic, which is in terms of what sort of company is this? How many employees do they have? What technology are they using? Which part of the world do they come from? Which industry are they in? How does their customer base look like, right? And if there is a pattern between all of them, do all of them come from 500 to 1,000 employee size company? Do all of them come from retail or hospitality? Do all of them come from, let's say, developed countries like North America and UK, right? Do all of them use a particular CRM, right? Once you're able to study these attributes and you're able to marry, you have your community.
Just multiply on that.
Yeah, you multiply on that. You might have heard this terminology called lookalike audiences.
Yeah.
So how do you find the lookalike of that will serve your marketing strategy? Second step is, how do you community doesn't mean, you keep them together, right? For example, of course, you can have a Slack channel where you can have all of them as a part. You can have a WhatsApp group, for that lack of better word. You can continuously engage with them, or you can assign a dedicated account management team to them. There are different ways to keep them engaged. Community doesn't mean, bringing them together in one place and you're giving speeches to them, right? So if you ask me, let's say I haven't done the former, but we have definitely done the latter, because we know who the customer cohorts are. We know what is making them stick to a product. We know how to keep them happy. Our product team, and the engineering team that is constantly behind the product. they're constantly listening to the customer feedback and building the product based on the customer feedback. We have a world-class customer support team. Going back to the topic that we have just spoken, we are a technology company. If we wanted, we could have eliminated customer support.
Yeah.
But we take pride in our customer support, right? So these are things that come together, and our best customers know they stick to us for these qualities. Great tech, great pricing, great customer support, right? And that is what I would call as, how we are building this community and growing this further. Yeah.
What do you recommend to people that what data should be ideally referred to? There is a lot of data points around. So what are the data heads sets that they should actually focus on, coming from the marketing strategy point of view?
Got it. Very deep question. We can go 6 hours about just metrics, right? The monitor, but I'll try and break it broadly into 4 categories. Okay. One is your brand metric. Okay. First category is brand. Second category is your traffic. Third category is the user metric. How many people are signing up, what are they doing on your website, how much time are they spending, and the fourth is revenue. Okay. So brand metric is how many people are searching for your brand on Google.
Yeah.
Very easy, quantitatively measure it, right? What is the click-through rate of your brand click? That is one way to measure it. You can obviously do offline surveys to understand every quarter to understand if the penetration of your brand has gone up, right? For example, let's say you have an area like Indiranagar in Bangalore, and you surveyed about 50 people asking about your brand. The first quarter, only 5 people said, but in the second quarter, 25 people said they know you, right? So these are different way to measure brand awareness. Number 2 is your traffic metric. If you have a website, how does the traffic growth look like? How does the traffic breakup look like? It's very important, because it's easy to present a nicer picture in terms of, hey, my website is getting 2 lakh
So
traffic,
much traffic.
1 million traffic, right? But it's important to understand, break that down further. Where is this traffic coming from? Which channel, which geography, which sub-geography? Do all of these matter to me, right? Third one is user-based, which is how many people are signing up, how many people are browsing different products, how many people are adding anything to the cart, how many people are anything initiating to check out. Everything to do with meaningful user engagement is what you measure under user. And then finally, the revenue, which is critical. What is your overall revenue? Where does that revenue come from? How does the revenue between different product category looks like? How does the revenue from different geography look like? Revenue from different customer cohorts look like? So these are all the things that you would want to have under revenue.
When one is trying to understand and learn things by themselves, whether it's a founder or a team member, now like Growth School and other such organizations have been offering like a great repertoire of courses, and initially, because they're reasonably priced, and your journey started with a very reasonably priced course, right? So I think initially there are 2 types of feedback that we see when something is economically priced. Then the question is, oh, this is too cheap, there would be of no value here. It's a waste of time. And especially more so if you've had at least one such experience and you tried, there's always first time that somebody tries a 99 rupee course or a 100 rupee program or a 500 rupee something, and if that happens to be completely useless, then of course you develop that impression, while it's not so for all, right? And the programs or the courses or the learning modules are also priced cheaper or affordable so that it reaches masses, and because they also have this challenge of a mass widespread, if I this is what I believe, correct me if that's wrong, that if they were to charge a 5,000 rupees, then Growth School or another organization would also have a very equivalent challenge of like really fulfilling that course and to meet the targets. Is that so? Is that why they price it economically, or there's another context?
Again, it depends on the org and the volume of customers and the market penetration that they want and how quickly they want it, right? To give you an instance, there has been a number of companies very similar to Growth School in the past, right? To give you one such example, good example is Simply Learn, right? A very popular edtech company, and they sell their programs at about 70, 80,000. It goes all the way up to 3, 4 lakhs, Simply Learn, right?
Oh,
If I'm not wrong, but I definitely know they do have the 70, 80,000 very basic digital
package.
marketing program is also available at that, right? Now, the scale that Simply Learn has versus Growth School is very, very different, right? Growth School, in their just 2 years of their 2, 3 years of their business, they've been there. They've managed to get over 1 million customers, right? Simply Learn wouldn't have had as many customers, if I'm not wrong, in this region from India. Simply Learn is a global company from this region to have as many sales, from a particular topic. Simply Learn again has a wide variety of
Wide
topics.
variety.
From a particular one, it would have been a bit challenging because one of the fees
Pricing.
is very high, right? And there are always people who think that the higher priced course is more
Premium and worth it.
premium and good and stuff like that. They would continue to go there.
Yeah.
But there is this whole big market in a country like India where people really need affordable options,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
There is a reason why you take fashion or auto, anything, right? India has always produced affordable options, even though it could be perceived as slightly lower in quality, but it is not necessarily true. For example, you take Tata cars, somebody else could perceive as it's low in quality, but Tata car could beat anyone else in terms of safety,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. 100%.
yeah, so that's the thing. What I see a lot of Indian entrepreneurs, like Vaibhav, who's the founder of Growth School, has started doing is, hey, we need to open up doors for a lot of people. And it has to be high quality education. It has to be a 5-star car, right? And since I've known him personally, I know that what he stands for and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the reason why people price is it's exactly the reason is this.
To reach the masses.
You reach the masses. There are people who sell stuff even cheaper as well. But they may not necessarily have the resources or the quality to be able to appeal to a larger market. Just because, let's say, if anybody wants, they could price the same thing at 6,000. In fact, Growth School has a lot of puppies. My program, which I launched about 3 years ago, it has about at least 15, 20 exact copy of module, exact copy of landing pages in India who are selling this at 4,000 and 5,000 rupees, right? Now, because we have done so well in the initial days, and there is a lot of reputation built over a period of time, there are people who will fall for cheaper products as well, but there are people who choose reputation and quality over cheaper priced options. Right? If Tata wants, Tata has a Nano as well, but Nano doesn't sell as much.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the logic. Yeah.
So basically the decision making ends at the consumer or the buyer or the student's point that, okay, you are getting it cheaper, really, really cheap or affordable, but then are you doing your own research of who the alt
Exactly.
is?
It's the same thing, Sonia, that I mentioned
Any
for
brand that you work with.
agencies as well, right? Before you work with an agency, do your references. Similarly, before you pick up a course, please do reference checks in your network. Do not fall for advertising, right? Do not fall for online reviews. Please go check in your network. In fact, go talk to the professional that you want to become, right? So there is a reason why these people want to upskill, because they want to become someone else.
Someone
Right?
else. Yeah.
And you go talk to that person, hey, is this really useful for me to become you? Right. And they would happily give you that reference. Or if they have other options that they recommend, they would recommend those options. Instead of you trying to figuring it out on their own, the reference works like anything else. So always, before you invest even your first 500,000 rupees, take references from people that you trust. Now, where people end up forming different perception about these courses is, because most of these people who take up an expensive course, they look for this magic bullet,
Yeah.
the magic pill, that's going to solve all your problems.
Yeah.
They don't implement things. They look for that shortcut. There is no shortcut in many of these,
Never.
right? And if there is a shortcut, that everybody would be doing it, right? People who have known it.
How do you handle negative feedbacks? How have you handled unhappy customers?
Got it. First is the nature and the intent of the feedback, right? Why is somebody angry on the other side, right? If it is just plain, this is bad, this is not working out, that's useless feedback, right? You don't really take anything from it. There is a person who's just angry because something didn't really work out the way they wanted to, and they're unhappy, they're frustrated, right? But there is nothing to take away from that frustration. You just realize, okay, that person is angry.
Yeah.
This is level one of the conversation, to really understand the intent behind that anger. Second, number two is, if there is that anything that you could have done to do things better, right? If the client on the other side or the stakeholder on the other side is able to clarify why they are angry, right? Is it because you promised me something 3 months ago and you did not deliver? Or you delivered only 50% of it, right? Or you did something that I didn't really like, even though you have gotten the results, right? So there are different types or different situations where a stakeholder or a customer could get really angry. The second step is to really break down that, right? The third one is to really, if you could do anything about it, right? That's one. Let's say if you as a marketer, if you know that you have screwed up, right? And you know that there is no way that you can get this client back on track, then just leave it. There's no point trying to fix something and igniting that anger even further, right? If you could do anything about it to fix this, then definitely sign up for it. Shout, saying that, hey, give me another 15 days, give me another 1 month, I'm going to fix this for you, right? If I do not fix it, fire me, right? So this is one. Third is to help, if the person on the other side is really in the listening mode, you help them understand that why we did not succeed, right? You lay them out, don't throw too much of jargons, etc. This is something that I've learned it from my new boss, the one I'm working for right now. He says, showcase only three things in any given slide, in any given document, in any given conversation. Sometimes, I continue to go on and on, point number 6 and 7. But if you have noticed, from the beginning of our conversation, I've stuck to three. That is something that I've learned from him. Okay. So stick to three, right? Tell them the three reasons why this did not really work out. And if that melts the person on the other side, okay, this is reasonable and logical. And this is a responsibility of both of us and not really your responsibility. Yes, okay, we understand that why we failed, and let's avoid doing these things in the next quarter or the next month, right? So there is always, if you put down three logical points for that conversation, the person on the other side is understanding it logically, you could still make this relationship work, right? So this is my method to make work. To first is to let it go completely. Second is, try and make things work through a big promise. I'm going to fix this in the next 15 days or fire me. Third one is discuss it logically as to why this failed, and what could we do to avoid this failure again.
And is personal branding really important, or it's overhyped now today?
In what context?
For the marketeers, let's say, and for the founders. We've been talking about this combination, the founders and the marketeers. Till some time back, we had just begun talking about personal branding. Even though you're doing your own thing. So personal branding, let's say if you're an influencer, of course, understood. Of course, that's your business. You got to brand yourself. But let's say you as a marketer or me as a founder, who actually spend most of the time dug into our diaries and our laptops, right? So while on one side, personal branding, marketing your own self is being talked about enough, but today, standing in today's time, is it overhyped? Do you see that it is giving results to people, if done right, of course, or no, it's getting more and more needier? You got to be out there.
Yeah. No, I think it's a bit of both, if you ask me. One, it definitely works. Two is how you are being perceived. Not every visibility is good visibility, right? Number three is, if you really have a unique angle to what you have to say in the world, right? If you are just like anyone else, creating similar content, grinding the same stuff, putting it in ChatGPT and creating a new version of a post, of somebody else's post, and you're trying to push this, people see it through.
Yeah.
But if you have a unique take on something, Sonia, I don't know if you remember, when you reached out to me, you asked, do you have a unique take on something, right?
Yeah.
Of course I do. That's why people know me. I
Mm.
have a unique take on the whole marketing things,
Yeah.
scheme of things. So if you have a unique take and you think you can say it to the world, you
Mm.
should be personal brand, and there is no um, bad rewards to being a personal brand. There's always good rewards, right? Sometimes it also often happens that, is it getting too much?
Mm.
You don't have to say that. The people will say it to you. Your audience who is listening to you, they will tell you, hey, it's getting a little too much. You're
Interesting.
trying to be posting the same thing,
Mm.
it's repeated content. And you will start getting those feedbacks, and that's the time you take a back seat and you probably think of a newer angle.
Mm.
You don't have to think that in your head.
Mm.
And like I mentioned, I'll go back to the same Zerodha example. If you have a product like Zerodha, you may not need a personal brand, but even them, they have a personal brand today, the
Yeah.
founders of
Today
Zerodha.
they have. Yeah.
You need to have a personal brand. And for a marketer, is a no choice. You have to be a personal brand. For founder, it's better if you are a personal brand because you can really push your brand forward. You
Brand.
can build a cult, you can build a community around it. There are people who will buy your product just because you're the founder of the product.
So what, when somebody is focusing on building up their personal branding, how do you think and how do you suggest as a marketer to go about it? What's not to do, not to be done, and what's surely to be done?
That's true. So there is a difference between vlogging and building a personal brand.
Hmm.
Like, for
Yeah.
example, exactly what you mentioned is showing everything that I'm doing since the morning, what I'm meeting, where I'm going, who I'm meeting. It's vlogging. It's vlogging my life. And it may work out as well.
Hmm.
There are people who will be interested in what kind of life you're leading, but that's not how you build a personal brand, in my opinion. A personal brand is, finding yourself a piece on the planet, right? Which is what is that niche that you want to pick up, right? You really want to be known for something that doesn't exist in the market,
Hmm.
right? Or something exists in the market and you want to be the best person at it, right? These are the only two ways which I think you can go about building a personal brand as of today.
Exactly. Hmm.
A few years ago, just creating content left, right, and center, you would have been a visible brand, visible person, not a
Hmm.
personal brand. Personal brand is still, in my opinion, you should be known for something.
Hmm.
When I say a word, people should remember you for that word. And the other way around. When I say people your name and they think of that word,
Hmm.
think of
Hmm.
that particular space. When
Yeah.
I say HubSpot, people think of inbound marketing. When I say Coca-Cola, people say happiness.
Hmm.
When I say Elon Musk, I do not know what comes to your mind these days. But he's known for that aggressive innovation, right?
Yeah.
There are. So what is that you want to be known for, and you want to be building your brand around it? I would say that if you try and fake it, people will see it through.
Hmm. I heard you talking about your initial part of the journey in a lot of videos, sharing, and I remember, like you said, that those were the last few bucks that you had when you took that course, right? Uh, Being in a space like that, when you have very little left and a long life ahead, what did that do to you? Because a lot of people today are there.
Hmm.
We know you for the successful person that you are today, but can I nudge in and dig in a little deeper, that the successful person is good that you're where you are, but though that phase where you had so little left, just so little left, and good that things happened, but it was so little that something monumental coming out of it could only be a magic. What was your state of mind that time? I don't
No.
want to assume that it was bad. I don't want to assume. I really want to know what it was.
One thing that I can say is, I gave it everything at that time.
Mm.
Uh, what it means is when I had that very little money left and I had to figure out my life forward because I was in a situation to take care of my family, I was really pushed into a corner. And this really put me in a state of mind that whatever I have,
Mm.
whatever I'm doing now, I'm going to give my 100% to it. No distractions taking me out of everything, every other negative thought that has been surrounding me. That one final thing that I did, I gave 100% to it. And that made all the difference in my life. Even
Mm.
today.
Mm.
It's if you draw parallel to many of the other marketers, right? I am particularly proud of myself for being a skilled in multiple facets of marketing. There are like many, many different forms of marketing.
Mm.
Many of the marketers will not have access to as many. They would be specialized in one or two, but not six or seven like I do. And that has always benefited me throughout my career, that I've always had multiple perspectives towards things, right? And all credit to that 100% that I give in that initial time, where all
Mm.
of this happened, right? So one thing that I would say is, give everything that you have, throw everything at it.
Mm.
There is no other way. There is no other way. If you are going to be getting distracted, okay, I'm running out of money. I'm running out of my runway. I don't know what I'm going to do next. There is not a lot of positive hope in it. So whenever I face a difficult situation in my life where I feel I become complacent,
Mm.
become extremely comfortable,
Mm.
I try and throw myself into a difficult situation like this, right? Which is, getting myself into a really tough conversation with someone, speaking at places where I shouldn't be speaking, or giving an open challenge to somebody where I know that I can't do it. For example, I did that when I was supposed to lose my weight. I was really overweight. I still am, but I'm relatively much less compared to how I was looking. And I've been this really lazy person when it comes to workout. And I went and told the person that I absolutely do not like in a heat up a conversation. In the next 6 months, I'm going to do this. And I did it. I
Mm.
pushed myself into a tough conversation, even though I didn't have to, but I did. But that challenge pushed me to become a better version of myself. So whenever you're in a tough situation, it may work out for people. Try and push yourself into the tougher situation, and it might push you into a corner. But when you come out of it, it's a bliss.
But the whole challenge is to muster the courage to push yourself and put yourself in that challenge.
Yeah,
That itself
you should
is
have. Yeah, that's
life
true.
and death.
You should have done that a couple of times to keep doing that again.
Mm.
But
You have
first
tasted that
time,
blood.
I didn't have a choice. I
Mm.
didn't have a choice. When I literally have done anything left, I didn't have a choice. I just thought, okay, this is everything that I have got. This 500 rupee course.
Mm.
What do I make out of it? That's it. That is the only thought was running in my head, and I wasn't getting distracted. And I think it was a really heavy 1 month program, but I finished it in 4 days.
Yeah,
So that was the
once
level
you're
of
running out of
commitment that I
time.
had. But that 4 days made all the difference in my life. So that
Mm.
is all. I don't think there is any other philosophical thought
Yeah,
to it. I just gave everything to it. Yeah,
I agree. I agree and absolutely relate. And glad that we had this conversation. So many people, whether it's a youngsters or it's people who've had a bad year, are in this mental state of very less resources left with, and then a pit stop. So I've not heard. I've heard so much around you, but I've never heard this version of. I know you've said it. Now that you say it, it comes to me that you've been talking about giving your best, but um, I hope through the podcast, people who need to hear this also just get it, that it's like no matter what you're left with, whether it's a little bit of a time or a little bit of money or a little bit of a hope, give it all
yeah,
and do the best that you can in that, because you really don't know what clicks. Just one conversation could just change things for anybody.
absolutely.
Lovely. So thank you very much. I know we started without an introduction and without this, but it's just how conversations happen for me. So I hope marketing would get little clearer by this whole thing. A lot of my doubts got cleared, especially about when to form a internal team and stick around with it, what level of people to employ versus when to get agency. I hope this was like a great clarity for you. And now, because these decisions are taken by founders who are of course the leaders, marketing team is one part of it, but leadership overall deals with negotiations all the time. We have to look at what works, what doesn't work, hiring the right people, hiring the right team, finding the right clients, negotiating the right price, negotiating the right terms and conditions. It's so much of a negotiation that we don't not even register that we are negotiating. It's just round the clock for us. So for this, we have a perfect podcast with Professor Amit, who is a professor at IIM Ahmedabad, works with the best of the CEOs, CXOs, CMOs of our country, who have a lot at stake, and he talks about negotiations, leaderships, getting your point across, working with the non-negotiables. So that's a podcast you must listen to in continuation to Deepan Sindhu. And next, you must listen to is Milap Singh. Is a fantastic entrepreneur, similar to Deepan. There was a point of time when he had no cash left. From that to today, building empire, being an angel investor, building kick-ass businesses. He talks about the power of the mind, the power of the risk-taking appetite, the power of having a vision and never giving up. I guess that's what we all need, right? As founders and entrepreneurs. You can never give. It's easier said than done, but these are the examples that have walked the talk. So I hope it's going to be very, very rejuvenating for you. Keep flirting with the fish.